When night fell over a medieval city, the streets plunged into deep darkness. Only the flickering light of a few oil lamps barely illuminated the cobblestones, and the echo of your footsteps merged with distant, mysterious sounds, making every shadow feel alive. Night watchmen patrolled silently, their armor clinking softly and lanterns swaying, trying to maintain order. Their presence brought a small comfort to those wandering alone, yet the darkness beyond seemed endless. Thieves and opportunists prowled the alleyways, waiting for a careless step or an unlocked door. Behind the closed gates of houses, secrets lingered, and the night became a thrilling game of risk and cunning. Dogs barked, cats slinked silently across rooftops, and the hooves of horses clicked against stone streets. The night's soundtrack was eerie yet mesmerizing, a reminder that the city never truly slept. Taverns glowed like small islands of warmth in the darkness. Inside, the flickering candlelight danced across wooden tables, where wine and ale clinked, laughter erupted, and stories of the day were shared with passion. Patrons sang and joked, some danced clumsily, while others played dice or card games. Arguments occasionally flared, yet the tavern remained a lively refuge, where rich and poor, locals and travelers, mixed freely. In the royal courts, night brought an entirely different spectacle. Knights, nobles, and courtiers danced in grand halls, adorned with candles, chandeliers, and music echoing off stone walls, celebrating the night with elegance. But not all was revelry. Dark corridors of castles held secret meetings, whispered conspiracies, and strategic plotting. Night was both a stage for merriment and a cloak for intrigue, hiding truths in shadowed corners. Street performers often put on shows after dusk, drawing small crowds. Masked actors, colorful costumes, and dramatic tales transformed cobblestone streets into a magical theater that blurred reality with performance. Festivals and religious celebrations painted the nights with color and sound. Drums and flutes echoed. People danced holding lanterns high, yet beneath the joyful chaos, the struggles of poverty, hunger, and fear persisted silently, reminding everyone of life's fragility. As midnight approached, the temperature dropped sharply, and a chilling mist rolled through narrow streets. The smell of damp earth and burning wood filled the air, a scent every medieval soul knew by heart. For the poor, night was not a time for pleasure, but for endurance. Families huddled together under rough blankets, listening to the wind whistling through cracked wooden walls, praying that thieves or soldiers wouldn't come knocking. In some towns, curfews were enforced. Once the church bell tolled the final hour, all doors had to be shut, and anyone caught outside without reason risked being arrested. Or worse, mistaken for a criminal. Yet, in secret corners of cities, the forbidden thrived. Illicit gambling houses, underground taverns, and even hidden places of worship stayed alive long after the official lights went out. The darker the hour, the wilder the hearts. The moon, when visible, cast ghostly light on the rooftops, turning ordinary houses into silhouettes of mystery. People often believed that the moonlight carried omens. Some saw hope, others swore it brought madness. Superstitions ruled the medieval night. Villagers spoke of spirits, witches, and creatures that roamed after sunset. Every creak of a door or rustle in the wind could be mistaken for something not quite human. Church bells often rang in the distance to ward off evil spirits, and people would whisper prayers before blowing out their candles, believing that darkness was a living thing that needed to be respected. Lovers met secretly under cloaks of night, whispering promises and sharing stolen moments before the dawn. The night, though dangerous, was also a sanctuary for passion, a place where forbidden love could breathe, if only for a few hours. In the countryside, the night was even darker, unbroken by lanterns or streetlights. The stars burned bright like distant fires, and wolves howled from the forests, a haunting lullaby that reminded everyone how small they truly were. Sometimes, travelers on lonely roads would spot a faint light flickering from a distant cottage or monastery, a beacon of hope. But not all lights meant safety. Bandits often used false fires to lure desperate souls into traps. As the night deepened, even the bravest men hesitated to step outside. The streets, once full of laughter and music, now echoed with whispers and the distant clang of a sword striking stone. Someone was in trouble. crime was woven into the fabric of the medieval night. Pickpockets, smugglers, and assassins thrived under the cover of darkness, when every face was hidden, and every shadow could be an accomplice. The city guards knew this too well. They patrolled with torches and halberds, their eyes darting through the gloom. For them, each corner could hide a drunkard, a thief, or something far worse, the unknown. In poorer districts, small fires burned inside iron barrels as beggars gathered for warmth. They shared what little bread they had, laughing between coughs, speaking of dreams that would never come true. The scent of roasted meat and ale from the upper quarters drifted down into these dark alleys, reminding the poor that even hunger had a hierarchy. The night revealed not just danger, but inequality in its purest form. In monasteries, monks prayed through the night, their chants echoing through stone halls like the heartbeat of faith itself. The flicker of candlelight danced on their worn faces as they whispered psalms into the still air. Yet even in holy places, fear lingered. Monks would sometimes claim to see strange lights in the woods or hear voices calling their names when no one was there. The devil, they said, worked hardest after midnight. Meanwhile, in the homes of nobles, the night was still alive. Musicians played softly while lords and ladies drank sweet wine, telling tales of heroism and betrayal. Beneath their laughter, however, lay a quiet dread of what lurked outside their castle walls. The city's cats prowled along rooftops, their glowing eyes like small lanterns of the underworld. Some people swore cats were witches' familiars, guardians of secrets too dark to speak aloud. And above it all, the wind carried everything: prayers, laughter, screams, blending them into a single haunting melody that only the night could compose. In that eerie harmony, life and death danced side by side. As the hours crept toward dawn, a heavy stillness settled over the town. The taverns had gone quiet, the laughter long faded, replaced by the slow rhythm of snores and the crackling of dying embers. In narrow streets, the air was thick with smoke and the faint scent of spilled ale. The cobblestones were sticky with the remnants of the night, a silent record of chaos and joy intertwined. Drunkards stumbled home, guided only by memory and instinct. Some never made it, collapsing beside the walls where beggars already slept, blending into the forgotten fabric of the city. In some homes, mothers nursed crying infants while fathers sat by dim candles, repairing tools or sharpening blades for the coming day. For them, rest was a luxury the night seldom allowed. Outside, church towers loomed like sentinels against the sky. Occasionally, a bell would toll, marking the sacred hours of prayer. A small reminder that even in darkness, faith kept time. A lone blacksmith, too restless to sleep, hammered softly in his workshop. Each strike of metal echoed through the empty streets, a fragile heartbeat of the waking world. In the countryside, farmers began to stir before sunrise. They rose quietly, lighting their hearths, the orange glow cutting through the blackness. For them, the night was never truly restful. It was a pause between labors. Those who stayed awake through the night often spoke of strange sights before dawn: ghostly figures walking through the mist, phantom lights drifting across fields, and voices that seemed to fade with the morning light. But as the horizon began to pale, a fragile sense of peace returned. The dangers of the night retreated with the shadows, slipping away into alleys, woods, and whispered memory. And then, as the first rooster crowed, the city seemed to exhale. Doors creaked open, smoke rose from chimneys, and life, ordinary, fragile, stubborn life, began once again under the pale morning sun. When the first rays of dawn touched the city walls, they revealed the true aftermath of the night. Overturned barrels, broken glass, a forgotten cloak lying in the mud. The beauty of daylight exposed the chaos the dark had hidden. Market vendors began setting up their stalls, stepping carefully over puddles of spilled wine and ash. The night had been wild, but morning demanded normalcy. Bread to sell, coins to earn, lives to continue. The city guards, exhausted from their rounds, returned to the barracks. Their faces were pale from sleeplessness, and their torches were burnt down to stubs. Yet in their silence, there was pride. They had survived another night. Somewhere near the city gates, a priest sprinkled holy water on the cobblestones, murmuring prayers to cleanse the streets of sin and sorrow. He knew that evil did not vanish with sunrise. It simply learned to hide better. Inside a small tavern, the keeper swept the floor, humming softly to himself. The smell of stale beer and smoke lingered in the air. Each morning he cleaned the same mess, yet each night he welcomed it back again. It was his way of life. A young woman walked home quietly, her shoes in her hand, her hair undone. She had danced until the candles burned out. The night had given her a fleeting sense of freedom, one that daylight could never allow. Not far away, a thief counted his stolen coins beneath a bridge, grinning as sunlight glimmered off the gold. For him, the night was a kingdom, and the dawn merely an interruption. Children peeked from windows, curious about what the darkness had left behind. They whispered tales they had overheard, of ghosts, knights, and secret feasts, building legends from fragments of truth. The city slowly filled with the sounds of life again, the clatter of carts, the call of merchants, and the cries of animals. But beneath the surface, the memory of the night still lingered. A quiet, invisible heartbeat that never truly stopped. And as the sun climbed higher, those who had lived through the night carried it with them. Whether they prayed, worked, or schemed, a part of them always belonged to the darkness, to the strange, untamed world that only came alive when the rest of the city slept. Even as the city awoke, traces of the night lingered. A broken lantern, a discarded cloak, or the faint scent of smoke from a tavern's last fire. Every object whispered a story of what had happened when the world was dark. Merchants counted their early profits, oblivious to the nocturnal dramas that had unfolded outside their shops. Yet every coin, every transaction, was quietly connected to the hidden lives of the night. Scholars and scribes, working by candlelight, documented tales of nighttime events, festivals, and strange occurrences. Their manuscripts preserved the memory of what daylight often tried to erase. The poor, having survived another long night, stepped into the morning with cautious optimism, knowing that darkness would return, and with it the same fears, hopes, and fleeting joys. In castles, the lords and ladies reflected on their nocturnal indulgences. Music, wine, and whispered conversations lingered in memory. The night was a playground for intrigue, yet it vanished with the first sunlight. Night had a rhythm all its own, one that shaped the city in ways daytime never could. It revealed courage, cunning, love, fear, and folly, often all at once. Parents whispered lessons to their children, warning them of what the darkness could hide, while secretly marveling at the freedom and imagination the night allowed. For every criminal, there was a vigilant guard. For every celebration, a sorrow hidden in shadow. The night was a mirror, reflecting human nature in its rawest form. By the time the sun fully rose, the city had shifted, from fear to hope, from chaos to routine. Yet those who had truly observed the night understood that it left a mark on all who dared to live through it. And so, life in the medieval city continued, a delicate dance between darkness and light, where every night held secrets, stories, and lessons, waiting for those who had the courage to walk its streets.